Hea Woo sat across from her husband for the last time while guards watched their every move. His face was trembling, but his eyes burned with urgency. Under the table, he pressed his fingers into their son's palm, secretly tracing 2 words over and over. It was his final message, the last thing he could give them before he disappeared forever. He had fled North Korea during the famine of the 1990s and found faith in Jesus in China, but was eventually found, captured, and imprisoned. He endured relentless torture, but never renounced his faith. When he died, those 2 secret words became his legacy. At the time, Hea Woo didn't understand them, but they took root in her heart. The message was simple, yet life-changing. Believe Jesus. All her life she had been told that believers were enemies of the state, but after her husband's death, she couldn't stop wondering, what was this faith that he had died for? Could the government be wrong? Desperate for answers, she snuck out of North Korea and escaped to China. That's where she met believers who gave her a Bible. She devoured its words, copying scripture by hand until every available space was filled. This Bible was her most treasured possession. She longed to worship freely, but secrecy was crucial. Discovery meant death. Unfortunately, her freedom was short-lived. After her safe house's address was compromised, Hea Woo was arrested and dragged back to North Korea. She was sentenced to hard labor in a re-education camp. When prisoners died, their bodies were burned, and the ashes from the chimneys settled over everything. Each day, she was forced to march to the fields for agricultural labor, walking over those ashes. Every day, she thought, one day the other prisoners will walk over me. Despite the horrors, she refused to let fear silence her. She shared the gospel with 6 women, and together, they formed a secret church. They worshipped in the only place guards avoided, the toilet block. 3 years into her sentence, Hea Woo was unexpectedly released, but she knew she wasn't truly free. Still under surveillance, she prayed for a way out. Her prayer was answered when her son paid a South Korean border guard to help her escape. At a major intersection of her journey, a river stood between her and freedom. The current was strong, the water deep, but so was her faith. She stepped in. The icy water pulled at her, darkness closing in. She started singing her favorite hymn and closed her eyes. When she opened them, she was standing in knee-deep water on the other side. She didn't know how she made it, only that God had carried her through. But when she reached the final obstacle, she thought she was defeated. A 2-meter electrified fence. Weary and ready to surrender, she prayed, "Lord, I'm grateful you brought me this far. I am ready to die here." She closed her eyes and leaned against the fence, prepared to lose her life. When nothing had happened, Woo was amazed. She realized that no electrical current was going through the fence. Hea Woo crawled through the wires, and she arrived in South Korea shortly after where, for the first time in her life, she could worship freely. Among the few possessions she carried was her handwritten Bible. When she finally held it again, she knew. The same God that saved the people in the Bible had saved my family from a life without Him.